Hello, hello. Welcome, my friends. Thank you so much for pushing play on another episode of From Impossible to Inevitable. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I am so grateful for all of your subscriptions, your likes, and your comments and your reviews. And I ask that you still please share this with your friends and family, anybody who you think would benefit from my message of encouragement and love and self-improvement. Today, I want to talk about a concept that has been really interesting to me lately that Jake and I have had a lot of conversations about here at home, and it has just really captured our attention and our interest. I've begun to be really interested in this proverbial straw that broke that broke the camel's back. Like what? And I've got some notes here. If you're on YouTube, I usually don't have notes visible, but I wrote out some really good notes and I want to honor the effort that I put into there. So I've got some notes here that I'm going to be referring to because I wrote out some really good examples. So I'm not so much off the cuff today, although I'll do that because that's just who I am and that's just part of how I run my life. But okay, so what is the thing that finally makes somebody change? What is the one more thing that makes somebody explode into anger? What's the one more toy on the floor that makes me just say, enough, pick up everything right now? What is the one more dish in the sink that is just too much? What is the number on the scale that somebody needs to see in order to start making some sort of health improvement? What's the maximum number of overtime hours somebody's willing to work? How low does a person let their fuel tank get? How full do we let the trash get? What number on our bank account do we need to see before we stop spending or start figuring out how to earn more money? How many times will you tolerate being passed over for a promotion before you switch companies or find a new job? How many times do you accept being yelled at or belittled? Like, what? We all have our own threshold, right? We all have a point at which that is just, I need to get gas right now. Whether that is at a half a tank, at a quarter of a tank, or at fumes, we all have a point on all of these things and on everything, actually, at which we decide that a change needs to be made. So this point between it's fine and heck no, something's changing right now is called a set point. And I want you to think of it like a temperature. So if you have a range, you have like a lower bound and an upper bound of your temperature of where you are comfortable being just normally. And the second it dips below that temperature, you're looking for a sweater. And the second it bumps above that, you are turning on a fan. You're making a change. So those are subconscious cues that you are getting. Like nobody comes up and tells you, oh, the temperature dropped below your comfort zone, so you better go get a sweater. You just feel it, you do it, and you know, and you just make that action. So you have this lower bound and this upper bound that confine your comfort zone. And when you start to get below the lower bound or above the upper bound, you make a change. And this threshold, this comfort zone is different for everyone. And we all have one everywhere. Like I have a bunch of examples, but one that's coming to me right now is pizza. Like there are people who love a good cheap pizza, like $5 pizza, here we go. I will not eat. Like my lower bound is like, I will not eat cheap pizza because it's nasty. I'd rather not eat. And there are people who will not pay, more than $15 for a pizza. So going to like a really nice sit down pizza place is like I'm not spending that kind of money on a pizza, right? That's a really simple example, but you have a set point everywhere. You have a comfort zone of what you are willing to experience in your life for everything, from pizza to how you are treated to what your bank account looks like to what your health situation is like. You have a set point for all of these things. So you have a set point for health. Like I said, you're only willing to see the scale at X number before you start making a change, or you're only willing to wear size whatever before you start making a change, even if that change is dieting for a few days to get you below back to your comfort zone and then you just give up. That's how like the yo-yo dieting works. Like you're not actually comfortable being the size you want to be. So every time you push that bound of your comfort zone, you sabotage yourself and you like, well, I deserve 3 weeks off because I was so good for 5 days. That's how that happens. You're not actually moving your comfort zone. We'll get into that. You have a set point for your environment. You're only willing to let it get so messy or so dirty before you're just like, enough, like this is changing right now. You have a set point for your money. Like I said, you're only willing to let your account go so low before you start making some changes. You have a set point for your relationships. You're only willing to be treated so poorly or belittled so much or yelled at so much before you ditch the relationship or you change jobs to avoid whoever at the workplace. And you have a set point for your job, your career, your purpose. A CEO, even if they're going into a new industry, they'll never accept a job as an entry level position. Like they will gather their skills and they'll be like, well, I might be in this new industry. However, I've got all of these great skills that will put me higher in the food chain because I've got a lot to learn, yet I've already learned a lot. They will not accept an entry level position because of who they've already grown to be. They have moved that set point there. So the same is true on the flip side. That's kind of the lower bound of set points. And there's the same on the upper bound. And a person fresh out of college, unless they're starting their own company, if they're going to some big multi-billion-dollar company, they're not going to accept an offer for being CEO, even if it was offered to them, because it is so out of their comfort zone, so completely out of the bounds that they would wreck their nervous system if they took that job. And in all the other examples I illustrated, there's an upper bound, an upper set point for that as well. So in your health, you'll only let yourself get so fit. Like I said, you'll only let yourself get so close to your ideal before you start sabotaging. In your environment, there's a point where everything's clean enough and you stop cleaning. Or if you're house hunting, there's these kinds of neighborhoods that you're willing to live in, but these neighborhoods are just too uppity. And even if you found the perfect home and it was in your budget and all of that, you wouldn't want to move into that neighborhood because you would feel out of place. It is beyond your upper bound limit, your upper comfort zone limit. And with your money, extra cash is usually spent freely until you get back to what you're used to having, what you usually have. That's an upper bound on money. You're just not used to having that much, so you kind of just get rid of it. And in your relationships, you only let yourself be treated so well before you're uncomfortable with that person. Imagine having a friend that every time you went out to dinner, your friend absolutely 100% insisted that they buy dinner every single time. Like you never could buy for yourself. You could never buy for them. They are trying to treat you super, super well. They think they're being the best friend. And it makes you uncomfortable because you're like, no, like I can buy my own dinner or I can buy you dinner sometime. Like it doesn't have to be this way. You start to feel bad. So you'll only let yourself be treated so good. So where do these set points come from? Like where do these thresholds come from? these lower bounds and these upper bounds. And here's an interesting thing. They are directly linked to your self-worth, to how you feel about yourself and what you feel you deserve. If you who feel like you deserve a friend who buys dinner all the time, it's not going to bother you at all. You're just like, oh yeah, we go out, they buy dinner, whatever. Like, I get them really something really nice on their birthday. It all kind of evens out. It's no big deal. Or it's not even a thing, or it's not even a conscious thing because you have that belief. Or if you believe, like, especially with money, money is such a hot topic, and that is directly linked to your self-worth. Like, you believe, I will always earn at least this much because that is what I'm worth. But I can't imagine earning this much because I'm not worth that much. Isn't that interesting? Or in your health, if a lot of health is linked to, being seen or things like that, you can get really deep with all of the limiting subconscious beliefs about health and wellness. But the core of it is at, like, you don't believe you should look this good. You believe you can only get this good. Or you don't believe it's safe to look this good, so you only want to look this good. So this is connected to how you feel about yourself, to how worthy you feel about who you are and what you've done or who you've become or whatever. So here's the point. Your set points, your thresholds, your lower and upper bounds, these are movable limits. They are not permanent. They are movable. And if you left in the unconscious, because most of these are unconscious, right? We talked about in beliefs how you are being run by unconscious, subconscious programming. And left unconscious, depending on how you live your life, these set points will gradually move in a positive direction, like very slowly. This is how, like, somebody, they buy their first starter home, and then they get a little nicer home, and then a little nicer home, a little nicer home, until they get to their dream home. That's like the gradual progression. Or they decline at a gradual progression as well. And you could say, but Megan, that's how, like, buying homes works. You start with a starter home, and as, like, you move in your career and you get paid more and this and that, and you have equity, of course you can buy nicer homes. And yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's not the only way things happen, because there are 30-year-old millionaires who've built their own businesses and go from starter home to what some would consider a dream home in 5 years. So it doesn't have to take a lifetime. They've increased their thresholds in many areas of their life, not just housing, and improved who they are as a person and how they see themselves and believe their value to be at an accelerated rate. They didn't believe that they had to spend 60 years in an industry before they were good enough for their dream home. They had a different set of beliefs, and especially about themselves, which caused these set points. Every time that I'm tempted to let the gas run too low, I remind myself, Megan, you deserve to not be stressed out about gas. So just go fill up, and then you don't have to be stressed out about it. You don't have to be like, oh, well, do I have enough gas to get here? And what about the time crunch and blah, 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 blah. I have a weird relationship with time. So feeling the stress and pressure of I've got to gas up and then go here, I end up getting to places like half an hour early or 45 minutes early because I don't appropriately estimate how long it'll take me to get gas. So if I just do it when it feels convenient and in flow, even if I'm not, like, almost to empty, it adds so much ease into my life. Or if we take out the trash before it's like overflowing, you don't have to shove it down. It's so much easier to just take it out, right? And then it's not this big like hassle thing because everything actually fits in the bag. And it's like, how easy are you willing to let things be? You have to change the set point. You have to change what you're willing to deal with. You have to change what you're willing to tolerate. Like, I feel lately in the house, we, laundry is just like a thing. And I feel like I talked about laundry recently, and I probably did. Laundry is just like a thing, and it can take days if I let it. However, in the past couple weeks, I have just been in a really good cadence of like, it's washed, it's dried, it's folded, it's away, the end. And that reframe of like, I no longer allow this to pile up has added so much flow and ease into my life, because it doesn't add up and pile up, because I have changed that set point, that lower bound of what I'm willing to accept. I've made a change there, and now there's so much more ease and so much more flow. Instead of feeling like I'm this slave to the laundry because it just piles up and piles up, I now have control and I now have power over it. In that, no, I don't accept that anymore. It gets put away now. The other thing Jake and I did is, there was one, and this is so interesting to me, right? This goes back to like, what is that moment that finally inspires the change, that it's just like, oh my gosh, I could be living this way this whole time, and I just like wasn't. Like, why have I been making this unnecessarily hard? There was an evening that it was dinner time, and it was just like, this is a real life story. I want you to know this is a real life story. It was dinner time, and I was like done. I was so done, because it was like, what's for dinner? I don't know. 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 And I'm really frustrated because I know that I can avoid this. I can avoid this stress. I can avoid this pressure. I can avoid this I don't know. I can avoid this feeling like I am at the mercy of dinner time. I can avoid this. All I have to do is make a plan. I just have to take the time to make a plan, write everything down, and then on Saturday, we make sure we have everything for the week, and then it can just be in flow and easy, and it's not a question. And I actually had this little mini explosion, not at Jake, but in front of Jake, and I was just like, I'm really frustrated with myself, because I know this is something that I can avoid. I know this is something that I can solve, yet I do not. Yet every night it's still a, what's for dinner? I don't know. I don't know what's for dinner. I don't know what we have. I don't know what we can make. I haven't thought about it. I know it comes up every single night, and it's a struggle every single night. And he's just like, okay, okay, okay. So this little mini explosion was obviously the tipping point for me. This was the moment that I broke and was like, I am not accepting this situation any longer. I'm not doing it. So just like immediately, Jake grabbed a notepad, and we wrote out for like the meals for the next 2 weeks. And we're like, this is what we're doing. This is the game plan. We'll make sure we have everything for these things. And if things change, then things change, and that's fine. But there's never a question. And we've been doing this for, I think we're like on our third week. I think, maybe fourth. But it's never a question anymore. It's never a hassle. It's never a stress. All of that is just gone. There was a point. So for years, though, I have been willing to accept this moment every day of stress of what's for dinner? What are we going to eat? I was willing to accept that. And then there was a day where I was just like, this is unacceptable. And with Jake's help, Jake's prodding, because he's the one that actually got the piece of paper and the pencil and was like, all right, We're changing this now because it's a problem. Because clearly, for whatever reason, it was too much for me. I don't know why. There's probably some sort of like something deep in my subconscious about it, whatever. Problem is currently solved. So we're going to just move forward with that. The point is that you can always make those changes. If there's things in your life that you feel like, man, I can't ever get to a good healthy weight, you need to start changing what you're willing to accept. And as you change what you're willing to accept, how you feel about yourself and your self-worth is going to improve automatically, because these two are linked. If you're willing to accept, being X number of pounds or wearing size whatever, then that's fine. That's linked to a certain level of self-worth. And as you say, no, I'm worth it. I am worth being healthy. I am worth, being able to climb 5 flights of stairs without wheezing. I am worth that. You can move both sides to make a change and to make a massive improvement. The power really comes from acknowledging that you have these bounds, that you have this comfort zone, and this is a big and, it's not an either or, this is a big and acknowledging that you want something different. You want a different experience. I had to acknowledge in our very dramatic dinner time example, I had to acknowledge that I allowed myself to be comfortable with the stress of not knowing what was for dinner every night. I had allowed myself that. I knew I could change it. I knew I could make a difference. I wasn't doing anything about it. I also knew that I wanted a different experience. I wanted a change. Luckily, I had Jake to step in there and really give me a push, because he doesn't ever really care what we eat, and so it was basically just like, okay, Megan, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And he just kind of led me along. That's what best friends do. But you have to acknowledge that you have this bounds of what you are willing to accept. And if that's different than what you actually want, you need to start moving your comfort zone. So if per se, I don't know, I'm just going to give an out there like wild example because I don't want to. Okay, I'll just give an example for me, my own personal life. Okay, so when I started my weight loss journey, I was at like 145-ish, I think. Like I've said before, I am a small person, and I wasn't like obese or anything, but I was chubby. You could see it in my face. You could see I was chubby. This shirt did not fit because of my arms, right? Like, I was chubby, and it was fine, and it could have been fine, and that it was fine for a few years. It was fine, and finally, I was moving the threshold of it's fine, right? Like I was moving this set point. It's like, okay, I'm at 145. Now my upper limit is 140. Whenever I am above 140, I need to make some changes to get below 140. And then, once I hit 140 consistently or under 140 consistently, it was okay. 135, hit under 135 consistently, gradually over time. I think I hit my weight loss goal I think I started in February or March of last year, and I think I hit it in like September. So it took time. It took almost all year to get there. And that's okay because you know what? I got there. And now my upper bound was my goal. And it's like I am never above 115. And if I am, it's for like a day. And that's fine. And now like anything above that, I'm like, well, I need to make changes. And now I'm at a comfort zone that I desire. And you can move all of your comfort zones to what you desire, how you desire your bank account, how you desire the scale to look, how you desire your house to look or your environment to look, how you desire your relationships to be, how you want to be treated, how you want those to feel for you. You can change all of those. And it starts with acknowledging what your bounds are, acknowledging what you desire, and making those incremental changes to get there and sticking to it, right? If I had said, great, I hit 135 and now it's too hard, and I just stayed there, like that doesn't actually get me down to my desire. I had to keep working, I had to keep moving it to get to where I wanted to be. So it's a consistent effort, it's a consistent movement, it's a consistent improvement over time. So if you're looking at your bank account or you're looking at money or whatever, and you want your savings account to be at, I don't know, 50 grand. If you want your savings account to look at 50 grand and you say, okay, I'm at 0, but I want 50 grand. Okay, what can you do this week? What can you do this month? Knowing that if you want it to be at 50 grand by next year, you're going to have to make way more changes in your income streams this year in order to reach that goal than if you're like, I want 50 grand by the time I'm 80. You know, there's a big difference there. You can put on tons of pressure by applying a short timeline, or you can release that pressure by making a really long timeline. It's like, it doesn't matter how long it takes as long as I get there. And as you put more into your savings every week or every month or whatever it is, as you make that a focus for you, you will find other ways of bringing in money, other ways of being of value, of being of service. You'll find other ways to help you reach your goal because it's in your awareness. You have to drag these things out of your subconscious and into your conscious, into your awareness so that you can act on them. Because you can't act on anything purposefully from your subconscious. Right? Right. And if you have limiting beliefs around this stuff, which you most likely do, because that's just a part of it, you can go back to the limiting belief episode and review how to start getting over that. And there are tons of resources out there on overcoming limiting beliefs. So if what I have given doesn't quite resonate with you, that's fine. Go find somebody else. I've learned from other people. Wasn't just like born with all of this. I've learned from other people, and there are great people out there, there are great resources out there for you. It's all out there. You just can go get it. You can go find it. And try stuff. Start trying things and start making little changes, making little differences. If you get really stressed out about the dishes in the sink, then make it a rule that you don't go to bed until all the dishes are done, or make it a rule that nothing actually sits in the sink. That's a great rule. It's not super easy with children, but it's a great rule. If you say nothing sits in the sink, I mean, my kids are little, so that will be a really great rule when they're older and will be able to just like put stuff directly into the dishwasher. But anyways, doesn't matter. You can have excuses. You can make excuses like I just did of like, well, not super with children, or you can take responsibility and make it happen. So you can make excuses or you can make progress. Which do you want? That sounds like a great that sounds like a great episode. Maybe that'll be next. Okay. Just as a quick review, okay? You have these set points in your life of where you are in your comfort zone. There's a lower bound, there's an upper bound. These are movable. They're subconscious right now, but you can bring them into your awareness and you can change them. And you can change them over time to make a massive difference and massive improvement in how you're in your life and in your self-worth, in how you see yourself, and in your self-esteem, which they'll feed one another. As you start treating yourself better and honoring how you want your life to be, you will feel better about yourself. And as you feel better about yourself, you will raise your standards about what you're willing to accept, and they will keep feeding each other, and it will be glorious. Yes? Excellent. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I so appreciate you. I appreciate your support and your love and all the ways that you send me love energetically and through the internet. And I hope you have a great day. We'll see you next week.